Hello everybody, here we are today doing a recap of the first round of the NHL draft. Before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to my channel or me. If not, no big deal. Now let's get into it. So the first talking point is of course the fact that Chicago lands their star. Now there was a lot of talk before this draft kind of jokingly saying that the Hawks would need a king's ransom to be able to trade down from their pick with the first overall pick so somebody else could get Connor Bedard. Did not seem like that was ever going to be the case, and it was officially official when the Hawks ended up drafting Bedard with the first overall pick, meaning there are going to be a lot of Hawks sales for jerseys this year, as Connor Bedard is going to be probably one of the most bought, if not the most bought jersey, definitely for rookies, and probably top 10 in the league. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But also, too, I think that the Hawks ended up getting more with the 19th overall pick in the draft. So the first round looked pretty good for them as they were excited about that, and a lot of people were excited about more as well. So good for Chicago as they had some more star power, as they are also trading for veterans as of late. The second thing is that Leo Carlsson rises and Adam Fantilli falls. So Carlsson, of course, was kind of viewed as one of the guys that would go 3 through 5 in the draft this year, but he ends up getting shockingly picked second overall by the Anaheim Ducks. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning is here. I do know Carlsson obviously does have some SHL experience over in Sweden, so he does have that professional hockey element, but of course is a guy that people were really hyped about. But Fantilli kind of seemed like the lock for the second overall pick. He ends up falling number 3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I have to say that the hockey guy, Shannon, of course, said something that was really interesting yesterday, and I do agree with it a lot. Growing up and watching the Blue Jackets, I think that they are suddenly one of the more exciting teams, especially in Columbus Blue Jackets history, as you look at the fact they have Johnny Gaudreau, Patrick Laine, and Al Fantilli, and so many other young prospects that are exciting. The Blue Jackets might not be in the playoffs next year, but in the coming years, if things progress a little bit, they should be a very fun team to watch and hopefully a good team, as Fantilli might pan out, and it looks like obviously that could be a good pickup for them. The third thing is the Montreal Canadiens end up getting the first defenseman, that being David Reinbacher, and he is an Austrian. It was kind of viewed as one of those guys that would definitely go top 10 in the draft. Kind of interesting though, because he was the first defenseman taken in this one. I really thought that the Habs would be the first to facilitate a trade in the first round to move up in the top 4, because it had been talked about like they would be one of those teams to try to move up. Instead, they take their 5th pick and stay there and pick Reinbacher. It's kind of interesting to see too how they view him as the top D-man in this draft. So I'm kind of curious to see, will he be able to go out there and play in his first season, or will they kind of go a different route with his development? Montreal has a lot of guys that are younger that are either playing for them now or will certainly in the future. And while the team is not ready to contend just yet, you do see some key pieces going forward. It's going to be very exciting to see the Habs hopefully turn around and maybe get back to the Stanley Cup Finals sooner rather than later. Number 4, the Arizona Coyotes send shockwaves through the NHL with their surprise pick at number 6, that being Simashev, and then they ended up drafting with their 12th pick Boot. This is kind of an interesting thing here, as both players are Russian. They both played at Lokomotiv in the KHL, so they are teammates, and actually turns out they are friends from what I was able to find. In an interview with Boot, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I've heard a few different pronunciations. But anyway, Simashev is kind of an interesting pick here because a lot of people thought, the Coyotes are going to go with Mishkov, and we thought yesterday it was kind of interesting because it was just shocking more than anything. And if I would have told the Coyotes fan, hey, the first player you draft with your pick at 6 is going to be a Russian, you're thinking Mishkov. And at first everybody was panicking and saying, what are we doing? What is ownership doing? Why didn't we get Mishkov? Well, it turns out, basically from what reports are coming out now, Mishkov said multiple times, if you draft me, I'm not signing my ELC, my entry-level contract. I don't want to be here, so don't draft me. Well, they decided not to do that, and with the 6th and 12th overall picks, they end up getting teammates that are foreign players that have a little bit of familiarity with each other and are friends. Hopefully that helps them in their transition to the U.S. Obviously, Russia is a totally different place than Arizona, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes out and how the Coyotes kind of go there, because if that pick doesn't land out at 6, especially Simashev, people are going to be talking about this one for a long time, but the Coyotes end up, having a jaw dropper there as they continue to stay in the headlines for interesting reasons. Number 5, Philly kills all hopes and dreams for most NHL fans, especially Capitals fans. I think for myself, when Mishkov was available after the 6th overall pick, I was thinking, are Philly going to take him? Will they take him? Is Washington going to trade up to get him? Philly kind of kills all hope for that as they just take him. And that's kind of, one of those things that I was really hoping that he did fall to the Capitals with Ovechkin being there. And I'm sure for Michkov, he is a idol for him as a hockey player. But yeah, Philadelphia ends up saying we're going to take a little bit of a risk and we're going to get him because apparently in a few kind of discussions they had with Michkov, he said he wanted to go to Philly. And we've had a lot of people joke about, oh yeah, clearly he never has been to the US. Why would he want to be in Philly? I don't know. Maybe he just really felt like there was going to be a fit. And I think for the Flyers, it kind of works out timeline-wise too. Was talking to my buddy and we both agreed at work. It just going to make sense. The Flyers are a team that understands or should understand at this point they're not going to contend for the playoffs in a couple years. Michkov is not slated to come over to the U.S. until 2026. So at this time, it kind of makes sense to say, well, we're not going to be a great team. We can get a guy that's going to be here in a couple years, and we can kind of see what's going to go on from there. But yeah, of course, Philly fans seem really ecstatic about this, as this feels like the first real bit of good news that they've had in a minute. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about here, this isn't, just one of the many things we could just end this video off of. There's so many things from this first round, but one of the things I want to talk about is Zach Benson falling to the Buffalo Sabres. Now, Benson is a guy that just was really good in the CHL last year in the WHL and is viewed as one of those players that would have been taken top 10 or had the potential. I've even seen him up there at about 5. I didn't think he was going to be taken at 5, but to fall to 13 for the Sabres, if you want to call it falling, I'd also seen some stuff where he was kind of around that range, is good news for them. I really like what Buffalo's got going here for the future, and I'm hoping Benson can pan out for them as they have a ton of young guys on their team right now, and guys like Dahlin and Thompson, etc., that are on the roster ready to go, but plenty of good prospects too. I'm not saying that the Sabres are going to go out and contend for a couple in the next year or two, but the Sabres do seem to have some good youth that are on the roster right now and in the pipeline. So in the coming years, Sabres fans have something really to be excited about in this Atlantic Division with them in Detroit, and hopefully Ottawa in the future could be really exciting to see. But yeah, those are my just quick thoughts from the draft. I know it really only goes to pick 13, but just so much stuff happened in there, and then there was some stuff at the back end where it's like I didn't really have enough time to recap it as I had to go to work and was just kind of keeping up with all this before I fell asleep, and then ended up going to work and at lunch was reading some of this. But anyway, what are your thoughts from round 1? Who do you feel like had the best draft? Who do you feel like had the worst draft? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Also, I did want to say real quick, I'm not going to be putting out a video tomorrow. Just going to take a one-day break. Probably going to have to help a friend move a little bit. And I will be back for free agency on Saturday. Anyway, everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go off hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.